Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're completely demystifying fractions. We're going to take them right out of the realm of abstract, confusing numbers on a chalkboard and pull them into relatable, delicious, real-world scenarios. Honestly, if you've ever stared at a math problem and felt your brain just literally tie itself in a knot, you are absolutely in the right place.
Let's just dive right into this, with a bit of a surprising conflict, something that kind of challenges everything you thought you knew about math. Is it actually possible that 1/3 of a chocolate is bigger than 1/2 of another? Now, your immediate reflex is probably going to be, no way, a half is always bigger than a third. But hold that thought for just a second.
Here's our roadmap for the journey today. We'll be covering 1. The rule of the whole. 2. Unmasking equivalent fractions. 3. Who ate more? 4. Going beyond one whole. And 5. Using benchmarks to compare.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the rule of the whole, size matters. To get a solid grip on this first concept, we're going to explore a very serious chocolate dilemma.
Meet Tamanna. She's a grade 5 student who just dropped a massive mathematical claim on her classmates. Tamanna boldly states that 1/3 of one of her chocolates is actually larger than 1/2 of her other chocolate. I mean, on paper, that sounds completely impossible, right? A half is 50%. A third is roughly 33%. So, how on earth could Tamanna possibly be right?
Well, the secret lies in the starting size. The starting chocolates are drastically different sizes. One is just your standard small bar, but the other is this absolutely massive block. If you take a mere third of that giant chocolate, it yields a piece of candy that is significantly larger and heavier than taking a full half of the tiny one. So, yeah, a smaller fraction of a massive chocolate wins every single time.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. Fractions are entirely dependent on the size of the original whole they're cut from. When we ask, when can we say 1/2 of something is greater than 1/3 of something, the answer is only when the something, the whole, is the exact same size. You simply cannot compare fractions fairly if their starting wholes are totally different. It's like comparing apples and really giant apples.
Moving right along to Section 2, Unmasking Equivalent Fractions, Masters of Disguise. Let's see how fractions can cleverly hide their true identities.
Okay, so this is our friend Gurpreet. He was playing around with a physical fraction kit in class, which, by the way, is an amazing way to visualize math. And he stumbled upon a really fascinating discovery about how different pieces actually fit together to make a whole.
He noticed that one piece of the 1/2 block and two pieces of the 1/4 blocks take up the exact same physical space. You know, it's actually really interesting. Notice how 1/2 is essentially just wearing a 2/4 mask. When a single 1/2 piece is broken right down the middle into two equal parts, it just magically becomes two 1/4s. They look totally different numerically, but they represent the exact same value.
And this isn't just a fluke for halves. By drawing horizontal lines to divide shapes into more equal parts, we generate this highly predictable mathematical pattern of equivalent fractions. 1/3 takes up the exact same amount of space as 2/6, which is the same as 3/9, and 4/12. You literally just multiply the top and bottom by the same number and boom, you found a fraction in disguise. All right, Section 3, Who ate more? The Chicky and Paratha Showdown. It is time for a low-stakes competition to really test out our new skills. Let's look at some real-world food sharing.
So, Sevi and Shami are dividing a piece of Chicky. Sevi eats 1/3 of it, and Shami eats the rest, which leaves him with 2/3. So who ate more? Well, when the denominators, that's the bottom number of the fraction representing the total slices, when those are exactly the same, it becomes a simple counting game. You're literally just counting the pieces. 2 pieces of a 1/3 slice is obviously more than 1 piece. Shami is the clear winner on this one.
But let's look at what we call the paratha problem. One person eats 4/6 of a paratha, and another eats 4/5. Both people ate exactly 4 pieces. But when the numerators, the top numbers, are the same, we actually have to completely flip our logic. Think about it. Sharing a single paratha with 6 people means the slices have to be cut much smaller than if you were sharing it with only 5 people, right? A 1/6 piece is physically smaller than a 1/5 piece. Therefore, eating 4 of those smaller 6 pieces is less food overall. The person eating 5ths definitely ate more.
So far, we've just been cutting up single items. But what happens when our appetite is much, much bigger? Section 4, Going beyond one whole, breaking the rules.
Take a look at the fraction 5/2.
A lot of times we're taught early on that fractions are just parts of one whole, right? So seeing a larger number sitting on top of a smaller number can almost look like a typo, but it's totally not. This is what we call an improper fraction, and it simply represents fractions greater than 1. In our source material, Raman's ma actually ate 5 pieces of half parathas.
Let's break this down and see how it actually builds in reality. By visually stacking up these pieces, we can see exactly what Maya ate. Step 1. Combine the first 2 1/2 pieces. Boom, that makes 1 whole paratha. Step 2. Combine the next 2 1/2 pieces. Now you've got a second whole paratha. Step 3. You are left with 1 single 1/2 piece. So the grand total is 2 1/2 whole parathas. We can clearly see here that fractions aren't trapped between 0 and 1. 5 halves effortlessly translates to 2 1/2.
Moving on to our last concept today, Section 5, using benchmarks to compare, mental shortcuts. For our final trick, we're going to learn how to solve complex fraction comparisons completely effortlessly without drawing any grids or finding common denominators. We're going to use mental shortcuts called benchmarks.
Now, if I were to ask you right now to compare 7/8 and 8/6, it might look a little tricky at first glance, but just use the benchmark of 1 whole. Look at 7/8. The top number is smaller than the bottom, which means it's less than 1 whole paratha. Now look at 8/6. The top number is bigger than the bottom, meaning it's more than 1 whole paratha. Immediately, with literally zero calculation, we know for a fact that 8/6 is larger. Okay, let's step it up a notch. What about comparing 5/8 to 3/6? Neither of these is bigger than 1 whole. So what's our new benchmark? Let's use 1/2.
And this perfectly demonstrates the real power of benchmarks. We know intuitively that 3 is exactly half of 6, so 3/6 is literally identical to 1/2. Now look at 5/8. What is half of 8? Well, it's 4, but we have 5. Since 5 is more than 4, 5/8 is clearly more than half. Instantly, we know 5/8 is the bigger portion. See? No common denominators needed at all.
Well, we have covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, moving from the rule of the whole to stacking improper fractions. So I'm going to leave you with this final puzzle from our source to really apply your new fraction mastery. If the length of a single ant is 1/4 of a centimeter, what is the total length of 16 such ants walking in a straight line? Using what we learned today about stacking fractions and moving beyond the whole, just how long is that ant line? Think about it and keep exploring the incredible world of fractions.
What?